This is an actual interview with the current President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Yeah, it's funny. One of the best chemistries I had was with Merkel. Really? Chancellor Merkel. And I guess somebody shouted out, shake her hand, you know. But I never heard it. But I had already shaken her hand 4 times. You know? Because we were together for a long time. Did you expect you would have good chemistry with her? No, because I'm at odds, you know. The NATO payments, and I'm at odds on immigration. We had unbelievable chemistry. And people have given me credit for having great chemistry with all of the leaders, including El-Sisi. So it was a great thing to see that happen. I've developed great relationships with all of these leaders. Nobody's written that. In fact, they said, oh well, he's not treating them nicely, because on NATO, I want them to pay up. But I still get along with them great, and they will pay up. In fact, the Italian Prime Minister yesterday, you saw, we were joking, come on, you have to pay up, you have to pay up. He'll pay. Did he say that in your meeting, in your private meeting? He's going to end up paying. But you know, nobody ever asked the question. Nobody asked. Nobody ever asked him to pay up. So it's a different kind of presidency. Let me give you an example. A little before I took office, there was a terrible article about the F-35 fighter jet. It was hundreds of billions of dollars over budget. It was 7 years behind schedule. It was a disaster. So I called in Lockheed and I said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to bid this out on another company, namely Boeing. Or whoever else, but Boeing. And I called in Boeing and I started getting competing offers back and forth. I saved $725 million on the 90 planes. Just 90. Now there are 3,000 planes that are going to be ordered. On 90 planes, I saved $725 million. It's actually a little bit more than that, but it's $725 million. General Mattis, who had to sign the deal when it came to his office, said, I've never seen anything like this in my life. We went from a company that wanted more money for the planes to a company that cut. And the reason they cut, same planes, same everything, was because of me. I mean, because that's what I do. Do you feel like you've been able to apply that kind of relationship to your dealings with Congress as well? I have great relationships with Congress. I think we're doing very well, and I think we have a great foundation for future things. We're going to be applying, I shouldn't tell you this, but we're going to be announcing probably on Wednesday tax reform. And we've worked on it long and hard. And you've got to understand, I've only been here now 93 days, 92 days. President Obama took 17 months to do Obamacare. I've been here 92 days, but I've only been working on the healthcare. You know, I had to get like a little bit of grounding, right? Healthcare started after 30 days. So I've been working on healthcare for 60 days. You know? We're very close. That's a great plan, you know? We have to get approved. So the Republican Party has various groups. All great people. They're great people. But some are moderate and some are very conservative. The Democrats don't seem to have that nearly as much. You know the pretty vast area in there? And I have a great relationship with all of them. Now, we have a government not closing. I think we'll be in great shape on that. It's going very well. Obviously, that takes precedent. You did put out, though, as a candidate, you put out a 100-day plan. Do you feel like you should be held accountable to that plan? Somebody put out the concept of a 100-day plan. But yeah, well, I'm mostly there on most items. Go over the items and I'll talk to you. But things change. There has to be flexibility. Let me give you an example. President Xi. We have a really great relationship. For me to call him a currency manipulator and then say, by the way, I'd like you to solve the North Korean problem, doesn't work. So you have to have a certain flexibility, number one. Number two, from the time I took office till now, it's a very exact thing. It's not like generalities. Do you want a Coke or anything? But President Xi, from the time I took office, they have not been currency manipulators. Because there is a certain respect, because he knew I would do something or whatever. But more importantly than him not being a currency manipulator, the bigger picture, bigger than even currency manipulation, if he's helping us with North Korea, with nuclear, and all of the things that go along with it, who would call, what am I going to do, say, by the way, would you help us with North Korea? And also, you're a currency manipulator. It doesn't work that way. Right. And the media. Some of them get it, in all fairness. But some of them either don't get it, in which case they are very stupid people, or they just don't want to say it. Because of a couple of them said he didn't call them a currency manipulator. Well, for two reasons. Number one, he's not, since my time, very specific formula. You would think it's like generalities. It's not. They've actually, their currency's gone up. So it's a very, very specific formula. And I said, how badly have they been? They said, since you got into office, they have not manipulated their currency. That's number one. But much more important, they are working with us on North Korea. Now maybe that'll work out, or maybe it won't. Can you imagine? I'm rebuilding the military. We have great people. We have great things in place. We have tremendous borders. I mention the F-35 because if I can save 725 million, look at that. That's a massive amount of money. And I'll save more as we make more planes. If I can save that on a small number of planes, General Mattis said, I've never seen anything like this. Because he had to sign the ultimate, He had to sign the ultimate, He said, I've never seen anything like this before, as long as I've been in the military. That kind of cutting. Right. Can I ask you, over your first 100 days, you're not quite there yet, how do you feel like the office has changed you? Well, one thing I would say, and I say this to people, I've never realized how big it was. Everything's so good. Like, the orders are so massive. I was talking to, you mean the responsibility of it? Or do you mean, number one, there's great responsibility. When it came time to, as an example, send out the 59 missiles, the Tomahawks in Syria, I'm saying to myself, this is more than just like 79 missiles. This is death that's involved. Because people could have been killed. This is what? This is risk that's involved. Because if the missiles go off and goes in a city or goes in a civilian area, the boats were hundreds of miles away, and if this missile goes off and lands in the middle of a town or a hamlet, every decision is much harder than you'd normally make. This is involving death and life on so many things. So it's far more responsibility. The financial cost of everything is so massive. Every agency. This is thousands of times bigger, the United States, than the biggest company in the world. The second largest company in the world is the Defense Department. The third largest company in the world is Social Security. The fourth largest, you go down the list. Right. Well, in business, you don't necessarily need heart. Whereas here, almost everything affects people. So, if you're talking about healthcare, you have healthcare in business, but you're trying to just negotiate a good price on healthcare, etc., etc. You're providing health. This is here everything, pretty much everything you do in government involves heart, whereas in business most things don't involve heart. You have to love people. And if you love people, such a big responsibility. Well, you can take any single thing, including even taxes. I mean, we're going to be doing major tax reform. Here's part of our story. It's going to be a big role. Everybody's saying, oh, he's delaying. I'm not delaying anything. I'll tell you the other thing is, I used to get great press. I get the worst press. I get such dishonest reporting with the media. That's another thing that really I've never had anything like this before. It happened during the primaries, and I said, then I won. I said, well, the one thing good is, now I'll get good press. And it got worse. So, there was one thing that a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought the press would become better, and then actually, in my opinion, got more nasty. I don't know yet. People want the border wall. My base definitely wants the border wall. My base really wants it. You've been to many of the rallies. Okay, the thing they want more than anything is the wall. My base, which is a big base, I think my base is 45%. It's funny. The Democrats, they have a big advantage in the Electoral College. Big, big, big advantage. I've always said the popular vote would be a lot easier than the Electoral College. The Electoral College, but it's a whole different campaign. The Electoral College is very difficult for a Republican to win. And I will tell you, the people want to see it. They want to see the wall. They want to see security. Now, it just came out that they are 73% down. That's a tremendous achievement. Look at this. In 100 days, that's down to the lowest in 17 years, and it's going lower. Now, people aren't coming because they know they're not going to get through. And there isn't crime. The migration up to the border is horrible for women, that. Now, much of that stopped because they can't get through. Oh, I'm seeing numbers. 24 billion, I think I'll do it for 10 billion or less. That's not a lot of money relative to what we're talking about. If we stop 1% of the drugs from coming in, and we'll stop a lot of it, but if we stop 1% of the drugs because we have the wall, they're coming around in certain areas, but if you have a wall, they can't do it because it's a real wall. It's a tremendously good investment, 1%. The drugs pouring through on the southern border are unbelievable. We're becoming a drug culture. There's so much, and most of it's coming from the southern border. The wall will stop the drugs. But just trying to nail you down on it one more time. Will you sign a spending bill? If it doesn't have, I don't want to comment. I just don't know yet. I mean, I have to see what's going on. I really do. But the wall's a very important thing to not only my base, but to the people. And even if it wasn't, I mean, I'll do things that aren't necessarily popular. The wall is very important to stopping drugs. And if we don't have a funding stream, your message to your base is what? My base understands the wall is going to get built. Whether I have it funded here, or if I get it funded shortly thereafter. That wall's getting built, okay? 100% it's getting built. And it's also getting built for much less money. I hope you get this. Than these people are estimating. The opponents are talking $25 billion for the wall. It's not going to cost anywhere near that. You think $10 billion or less. I think $10 billion or less. And if I do a super duper higher, better security, everything else maybe it goes a little bit more. But it's not going to be anywhere near kind of numbers. And they're using those numbers. They're using the high numbers to make it sound that's not a word. And the fact it's going to cost much less money, just like the airplane I told you about, which I hope you can write about. Should Americans who are serving in the military expect that you are going to increase troop numbers in the Middle East to fight ISIS? No, not much. In terms of the strategy, though, that you have accepted, it sounds like, from the generals, well, they've also accepted my strategy. Does that involve more troops on the ground, it sounds like? Not many. So a small increase. It could be an increase, then an increase. It could be an increase, then an increase. But not many more. I want to do the job, but not many more. This is an important story. I've done a lot. I've done more than any other president in the first 100 days, and I think the first 100 days is an artificial barrier. And I'm scheduled, the foundations have been set and to do some great things with foreign countries. Look at President Xi, I mean. What do you think it was about your chemistry? We had good chemistry. Now I don't know that I think that's going to produce results, but you've got a good chance. Okay, I can't do this anymore.